I still had to hit rock bottom. I had to hit rock bottom to get out from those kind of trenches of being a musician, because I've been doing this since the mid 90s. That's a frickin' long time to trudge away at it, but I had to come to a decision and go, oh, I'm not doing this for accolades. I'm not doing this for money. I'm doing this to stay alive.
Today on the show, we are joined with Laura of Down the LEES. Down the LEES has just released a brand new album titled Dirt. It's hella unique and it fucking rocks. And not only do we pick Laura's brain about that album, we hear all about her journey. She's been a singer-songwriter since the 90s and been going strong making the music she wants to make. Full of perspective, great insight, and alongside that, we kind of talk about the pressures of being a professional artist, taking care of your mental health, and much more. So yeah, let's get into it.
I started it as a solo project when I was living in Vancouver. I wanted to kind of prove to myself that I could write and perform an album and record an album by myself, because I can play lots of instruments, kind of like Dave Grohl did with his first album. I wanted to like prove to myself that I could do that, because I had been playing in bands since the 90s, and so I decided, okay, I'm just gonna do it myself. So I holed up with Blair Kalibaba, who's recorded Propagandy. I don't know if you know that band.
Yeah.
And so we holed up in this house in Burnaby, in BC, where he had. It was a house, and the studio was in the basement, and the floor would open up like this.
Oh shit!
So the drums would be in the basement, and then he would mic the whole house. It was really cool. Anyways, I digress. I started off as a recording project, just something that I wanted to do. The second album was kind of similar, but I had guest musicians kind of help me because my style was differing a little bit. And then I moved to Belgium. I moved to Belgium in 2015 to live and to work and to explore. And I saw how awesome the rock scene is in Belgium. It's like a kept secret, so shh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just beep out what you just said.
Yeah, it's like and I started going to shows, and I was like, oh, I want to make this a live band. I want to start, performing as a live band again. So I found a couple of musicians, and then we decided to record with Steve Albini in Chicago to get that album done. And then as soon as that album was done, the pandemic happened. We were just starting to tour it all over the place, and then the pandemic happened, and then I had to put it on a hold for like 4 years as I moved back to Canada. Mm-hmm. And then I found two guys here as I was trying to get my feet, and we decided to start playing together. And then we recorded this album, Dirt, which was released on May 3rd. Which was recorded by Jesse Gander, who's recorded Ancients and Brutus and Comeback Kid and all these guys. Awesome producer, who I've known Jesse Gander for over 20 years. And so, yeah, we're going to probably continue recording with him. And now we're on the next phase of Down the LEES.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's such a cool journey, just especially like just kind of traveling all over the place. I'm sure that just kind of soaks in like just so much inspiration doing that too.
Yeah, a lot of inspiration.
You mentioned Jesse as well too, and like I didn't know him by name, but when I saw like his credentials on like your press release and everything, I'm like, oh yeah, I have like a bunch of his albums. Like 3 Inches of Blood is like my favorite Canadian metal band and stuff like that too, and it's just cool. Like it made me extra excited to hear your EP Dirt, which is. It's just awesome. And I kind of want to know, like you mentioned like the journey as a whole, and how do you feel almost like as your evolution of this project of where it started to now, like maybe your perspective of making music, is it still coming from the same place, or has it just turned into something else?
It's come from the same place. Like the actual music creation has come from the same place, because I kind of use it as a tool for my therapy, to get what's going on in here and what's going on around me to deal with and put it into music. And so I always use that as a tool, but now I actually get to do it live, and that with some musicians. I was doing some solo stuff a little bit here and there, but there's nothing like having a drummer and a bass player to play with live and really, really just give her, because I like
Hmm.
being noisy and distorted and loud. Playing with other musicians who are very seasoned musicians like Andy and Chris, who I have now, they have been playing for a very long time, and they're very, very professional, and they really upped my game, and they really made me challenge myself as a musician, because I want to be on the same level as them. And we work really well together. So I'd say that I'm still coming from the same kind of perspective writing wise, but now I just give it a lot more energy. There's a lot more yeah, loudness and energy, I would say.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's just like the music fits that vibe, of just it sounds like it's meant to be in front of people too, just like
It
you use
is.
the word
Yeah.
energy. It's just like it's not fully metal, but it's got like those driving parts where it's just like you're just nodding your head and makes you just want to, I don't know. And I'm sure like you just kind of like feed back and forth off the audience as well, like
Oh yeah,
almost like a
no, it's the
ping pong
best.
type
We
thing.
had a fan come up to us at a show the other day and said, "You guys are like alternative rock with shards of metal." And
Hmm.
I was like, "That's actually quite apropos, because we don't really fit anywhere." Because I have like indie rock sensibilities, I have singer-songwriter sensibilities, I love slowcore, I love metal, I love so many different things, and I like to try and vary my sound.
Hmm.
One and I experimented with that for my second album, and I think I experimented too much, because a reviewer said it sounds like a bad mixtape, and I was like, "Ooh,
Damn. My
damn."
heart. Yeah.
Well, I love mixtapes, but
Yeah. Yeah. But no, it's cool. And even like it's really cool that it seems like you're not trying to narrow yourself. I'm this genre. I feel
Oh,
like that's when the most special, original, unique stuff happens, when an artist, like even like beyond music, film, I talk to like filmmakers and comedians, when they just kind of like find like what's in their heart and project it in a certain way that's natural. And sometimes it takes some time, but after a while you just keep working whatever muscle that is, and it just turns into unique excellence, I believe, in everything.
did you just call us unique excellence?
Hell yeah.
Shit,
Put
man,
it on
that's
the
awesome.
review.
Yeah, yes. Please.
Yeah. And speaking of unique excellence, yeah, I again, like I'm digging dirt and everything. And even you mentioned that this has been also like kind of like a lifelong therapy for you too. Like this is just something you do. When I listened to it, I was like kind of like just grooving to it, but I wasn't like had my mind like deep into like the lyrics. And is there like a certain place you pull from that? Is there like a theme, or is it all over the place compared, or like depending on the track, or just kind of what's your process around that?
Well, it depends on the track. You know, the
Mhm.
track, it depends on where I start with the creation. Sometimes I bring just a riff to the band, or I have a fully fledged concept that I bring to the band. And usually it's the music that comes first. So I come up with a guitar riff, and I kind of let that guide me on where the song is going to go. And the lyrics always come last. So
Mm.
it's the music that dictates what I'm feeling at that time. And then I pop in what's going on. So if it's somber, I start thinking about where I was that day, or what's going on in my life, or what's going on in society, because I usually try to talk about what's going on in society that's really screwed up, like climate disaster and mental health and ageism and everything.
There's a lot of inspiration nowadays
There's
for
a
the.
lot of inspiration about stuff. So it's not like and this is the kind of music that works with that kind of content, right?
Mhm.
So that's where I kind of pull from. It's always the music, and then it's the lyrics.
Yeah, that's really cool to hear too. And it's yeah, my next listen, I'm gonna pay more attention to that too. I always feel like it's cool when you just can turn something on and it just feels fresh and you kind of get lost into it. And that's kind of how I felt with Dirt. And
Thanks.
how does it feel to like finally like release it and get to play live? Because you were mentioning you were kind of hanging on to this, and now it's like the world, I guess, is open to do that and everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's taken audiences a bit to get back to how things were before, right? Like even still, we're not seeing the audiences back. Um, but yeah, obviously it feels really great. When I first the when I was living in Ghent, Belgium, that's when the pandemic hit. We were stuck in our houses for the longest time, and then I was able to go to the jam space a few months later for the first time in 3 months, and I'd been playing regularly with my band, like 2 or 3 times a week. So it was quite a stark change. And so the first time that I went to the jam space, I was like, oh my God, I love this so much. I started playing guitar and playing drums. And that's where the first riff for Douse, which is the second song that came off the
Hmm.
album, came from. Um, and it was more like a rallying call for myself to don't give up.
Yeah.
Don't give up, like keep pushing, keep pushing. But I did give up. I did give up for a while, because I just didn't see any way forward. And one song on the album called Dead and Over was supposed to be my swan song. It was my official, like,
Like
this is it,
goodbye type thing. Yeah.
bye, goodbye. It was like, but it did the exact opposite. It
Yeah.
was like, oh yeah, no, I can still do this, and I need it for my therapy. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's almost sometimes you got to walk away from it, and it almost puts
Yeah.
everything like in the third person. Because when you're like living in it too, it's like it's hard to like continue to make, whether it's music or content or whatever. You get caught in the grind, and almost kind of taking step back and a breather makes you realize how special some of the things are or why it's a part of you. Because you can forget easily when you're just grinding all the time and everything.
Oh, totally. I mean, I think it kind of helped that it happened to everybody, and it
Hmm.
wasn't just my career that died. Like
Yeah.
it didn't feel like it was my fault, right?
Yeah.
But I still had to hit rock bottom. I had to hit rock bottom to get out from those kind of trenches of being a musician, because I've been doing this since the mid 90s. That's a freaking long time to trudge away at it, but I had to come to a decision and go, oh, I'm not doing this for accolades. I'm not doing this for money. I'm doing this to stay alive. I'm
Hmm.
doing this as my therapy, like I said. So that's why I decided to not give up.
Yeah, that's cool. It's just kind of like confirmation. This is a part of me type of thing.
Yep, yep.
And yeah, I think it's even cool like when you mentioned like kind of the beginning days how you were doing other projects and this was almost like a compulsion of I got to do my own thing. And even though I don't make music, I had a moment like that and it led where I was just working for other people and I had like my own passions and ideas and then one day I was just like, fucking took that first step and it led to like so many blessings. And I'm sure like you can attest like on do you remember like taking that first step or like maybe the first song of your own where it's like this is my thing and like how it felt and everything?
Yes, because this was in the 90s where because I've been plugging away at doing solo stuff since the 90s. And I didn't actually do the first album until, 2005.
Mhm.
So because I was in a band called Queasy and in the 90s and we were just, playing around and we record and stuff like that. But I didn't really realize that I can actually do it on my own until I heard the PJ Harvey 4-track demos album, which is demo versions of her previous 2 albums or 3 albums. And so it was just a 4-track demo of these songs. And it really kind of scaled it down to me to go, oh, I can actually do this. So I got a 4-track and I just sat in my tiny little shoebox of an apartment and just started recording little 4-tracks and to kind of feel like this is something that I can do and that I didn't actually need a big studio to do it with because that's all I'd been doing it with all my 90s bands. So that's where I kind of started getting my footing and I have to give kudos to, PJ Harvey and Steve Albini, big loss there, to get me on that path to what I wanted to do today.
Yeah, I find too, I get messages from different creatives and different art forms and stuff who kind of listen to these segments too, and they're talking about like wanting to do something, and just thinking about it too. It's making me like kind of reflect on like almost that first step is like the hardest, you know? It's like something you got to do, and almost like it could be scary and you're gonna make mistakes, but I don't know. I feel like there's like a lot of people who don't realize that's also like part of the process as well. And yeah, it's easier said to done and then done to just be like, yeah, do it, do it, do it, do it. But like I'm always like preaching like, yeah, just do it. And then like you hear like your story where you're traveling the world and like making this music too. Like I think it's cool that you just like took that path and started doing what's in your heart. And yeah, there's
Yeah.
so much reward from it and everything.
There's a saying, nothing worthwhile comes easy.
Hmm.
And I kind of think about that all the time. The harder you work for something, the more reward you're going to get out of it. It's kind of like I miss those days of going to a record shop because we don't have very many record shops anymore, and
Yeah.
just discovering something that's, unique and special. And whereas now we have our fingertips at everything, and it just comes too easy to us, so we don't appreciate it. Because I work so hard, I feel I have an appreciation for it that I wouldn't have if someone actually handed it to me. I would have given up a long time ago if it was an easy thing to do, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like this generation too, it's even a little harder because there's so many lanes of like where
So
people are taking in content where before it was like radio, television, and you'd like try to focus on like that, but now it's just like a million apps on your phone. And almost like I notice like the people who are striving in music, they have to gain other skills beyond music, and maybe it's like
marketing.
not a natural thing, or
Have to
it's
be marketer.
yeah, and it like takes away time from you making, and it's just it could get so exhausting and
It's
like
very exhausting.
yeah, yeah. Is there any like things you do to kind of like decompress when you're like almost do you feel overwhelmed with everything as well? Like
Yeah. A
yeah.
lot of the time I do feel overwhelmed because, I feel like it's my responsibility. It's my project, right? So, and I have these amazing guys, but they don't know social media very well, and so and I have a job as a marketer, so I know how to do stuff like this, and it's easier for me, and I've been doing it for a very long time. Um, but there's so many aspects of being in a band that's not just playing the music and playing live. Like I would say 20% of it is that, and
Yeah.
80% is admin and marketing and promo and all that. So, in terms of like decompressing and trying not to go crazy, I unplug on the weekends sometimes, or I just plug in and just actually play and go, well, this is why I'm doing it,
Yeah.
not because of, the social cred or whatever. I go back to the original impetus of why I'm doing this, and that's creation of the
Yeah.
music.
Yeah, that's great to hear too, because it even though the other stuff, I guess, like in this era is necessary, it's it's just an infinite well of like work. And yeah, that's just something that's been like on my mind today too. I had a couple conversations with my friends who are taking a mental health break, and like the last episode I had, I talked to the singer Andy Kim, who made Rock Me Gently
Oh yeah.
and the sugar and stuff, and he just
Wow.
went on this passionate rant about like just life and stuff too. So that's kind of been on my mind today too. That's what
Oh,
kind of
interesting.
projecting it into this interview now and
No, it's
everything.
awesome.
But yeah, 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 it's just like it's important to like take those breathers. And I don't know, I'm like this where I feel like sometimes when I do get caught in that grind, it's almost like there's like this fear, if I don't do it, I'm gonna get like left behind or something like that. And do you ever get like anxieties or tics like that as well when you're like caught in the waves?
No, because
Okay.
I've never had that pressure of like, you gotta like reproduce another Nevermind album, right? Like, I can't
Yeah.
imagine what it would be like to be an artist like that, who the pressures of like reproduce exactly. what you did before that made us millions of dollars. Like
Mhm.
I can't fathom doing that. So I haven't had those kind of pressures. I've had pressures of like, okay, we gotta produce. Like when we went to Steve Albini to record with him, we were under a strict time frame to get everything done and needed to like be really proficient with your craft because it was to tape and all analog. So you really need to know what you're doing. It's not like a copy paste situation, which a lot of our albums are now. You have to really know what you're doing. So there was crunch time there. So there was some anxious, you know, excitement involved with that, but I think that added to the quality of the album. It's those kind of pressures that I kind of love. I love leaning into
Mhm.
those kind of pressures because it's pushing me to be better. But yeah, I haven't written the Nevermind album yet.
Yet is
The
the
next
word.
one.
Also, like, if you like imagine like being in a position like that, what how does that make you feel? Like, do you feel fear, or it's like this is something I want? Because
I know I do feel fear about that. And I don't think I want it because of what happens to musicians, like the 27 Club. I think
yeah,
it happens to anybody at any age when you're thrown into infamy and being famous and you just want to play music and you're scrutinized for every single thing you're doing and you just want to be a human playing music and putting it out into the world and you just put on this pedestal and I think it would just be crazy making. It would be crazy making. I don't know.
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. It's got to feel like otherworldly.
Otherworldly.
Yeah. A couple
You
years
don't
ago,
know who to trust, right?
yeah, a couple years ago, I listened to this podcast, and it was like a candid talk with Macaulay Culkin, who was like the big like childhood actor, Home
Yeah.
Alone, everything,
Yeah.
like beyond biggest fame, and then just disappeared. And I remember being younger and seeing like tabloids being like, "Oh, he's gone crazy and left," but he was like explaining what he was doing in his 20s, and all he did was go to France and went to college and lived a normal life. 'Cause
Yeah.
and it was just sounded so cool, and like listening to him, it just like it almost sounded like he saved himself from the
Yes.
27 Club type of situations where he had the self-awareness where it's like, I'm just gonna shut off and make real genuine friends and go to school and like
Yeah, exactly.
live
That's
what I do.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah. It was just
That's awesome.
interesting perspective because I feel like
Yeah.
sometimes people are on the other side and they're like, "Oh, I wish I had all this," but it's kind of like I guess the monkey paw wish where it's like you get a blessing and a curse at the same time, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we have no concept of what it's like, right? Like no concept what it's like. But I
Mhm.
can imagine it, right? The stresses.
Mhm. Yeah,
I have
yeah.
enough stress of living. I don't need
Yeah, just trying to
that.
get by. I
Yeah.
I feel you, Laura. And yeah, it's cool. You got this EP out. It's like very fresh and exciting. And just kind of like going forward, what's on your mind? Are you looking to play like do some tours or play more shows, or like what's kind of like the move going forward with Down the Lees right now?
Yeah. So we're doing a tiny little BC tour starting next week. Only a few shows just to kind of celebrate the album release with some of our friends' bands that have been around. Um, and we have some shows booked in the summer and in the fall. So we're just kind of sprinkling a little bit with shows, but really we kind of want to focus on writing in the summer because we've been uh really focusing on getting these songs down for Dirt and going to the studio. So we recorded those in October of last year and it's finally just coming out. So, and we had been working on them for about a year before that. So
Mm.
we really put a lot of time and effort into it. So now we're like, let's write some new stuff. We're really energized to do that. And I think we're going to do that in the summer because unfortunately we live in a very wildfire volatile region. So
Oh, damn.
the smoke's going to be in the skies and it's coming earlier. So we're like, okay, shows are going to be canceled. And so why don't we just not bother booking shows and just hole up in my house and record and
Yeah,
write
yeah.
about that. Like it seems like I think probably every album since the first one I have talked about climate disaster. Every single one has at least one song on it about climate. Dirt is about climate disaster. The title track.
Oh wow.
It's really in the forefront of my brain, and I'm actually living for the first time in the middle of forest fires all the time, and so that's hard for me to not, to put blinders on, which I see that a lot. People put blinders on. It's not happening. It's not happening. So I think we'll probably just tunnel my frustration and worry and all that stuff into some more doom post metal for you.
Hell yeah, it works for the genre and
It does
everything, and
work
like
for the genre.
the style and everything. Yeah, but like, yeah, it sucks that you walk out your door and literally see the world on fire.
It
Like,
literally is really terrible. I actually have an app that kind of shows me by color how bad the smoke is. And so it
mhm.
goes from like yellow to orange to, red to brown. Brown meaning like you can't go outside without a mask, like a ventilator mask. And it's been brown here a few times.
Damn,
Red
yeah,
sky. Yeah.
yeah. I had this lady on from California handful of months ago. She it's like a voice actors in video games, did like the new Street Fighter game and stuff like that. But she's
Oh,
also in an area where there's fires everywhere, and she's like, man, like some days it just wrecks my voice. And like,
yep.
does that happen to you? I can imagine like even
Oh yeah.
there's days where you want to record, but just because of the area, it's so scary, you know?
It's so scary. It's so scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I don't know what, I
Yeah.
don't even know what to do about it.
Yeah,
Really.
you can't go outside with a bucket of water, but it won't work. But
Yeah, exactly. Even though we live like right around a lake, we could probably we all pitch in. We could put out the fires.
yeah,
Uh,
crazy times. But
yeah.
yeah, I guess like as a final question, since there is like a handful of creatives and even artists who listen to these segments, would you have like any advice for maybe a musician right now who's like kind of like listening to you right now and maybe wants to take their first step into like making it a lifestyle or a career?
From like like starting or just like what the
Like
next
maybe
what
they're
the
in their
next step
garage,
is.
like writing some stuff with their friends, like maybe like a high school band or something, and just want to like take it to the next level, maybe.
Okay, taking it to the next level. I think really community is a huge thing. So take it out of your garage. Take it out to a friend's house. Maybe start building a community around basement shows or, just inviting your friends. Go to other shows. Start being friends with other bands because that's where it actually starts. It starts with the community. It starts with the scene because all those bands kind of help each other by boosting each other's content by going to each other's shows. For the first shows, it's just going to be bands at your shows. And that's okay. That's okay because those bands will be like, okay, well, I have some friends who would think would like it. And that's kind of how you kind of build it up. I think community is hugely important with being a musician for sure. Don't just keep it in your room. Don't
Mm.
just be by yourself. Don't just be by yourself. I mean, for me saying that because I started this by myself, but I still had musicians that I would play with. I had other bands that I was playing with. I still was building a community. But I think it's very important to get out there and not just be a bedroom musician and releasing the music online and then watching your likes go up. That's or not, because if it doesn't, then you're like, what's wrong with me? No, get out there, be in real life with people and building a community with people in real life.
Well said, and great perspective and everything. Thank you for that. And it was really nice to meet you.
It
And
was very nice to meet you. Thank you for having
yeah,
me on.
yeah, definitely. If you come out this way, I'll come see a show or something and
Perfect.
everything and bang my head. And
Sweet.
yeah, as you guys like release like different singles and stuff, we'll continue to
Yep.
share on like our social medias and like
Perfect.
clips of this and everything. So yeah, once again,
Okay.
thank you for your time and everything. And
Thank
yeah, we'll
you.
keep in touch.
Okay.
Yeah, take care, Laura.
Thanks. Bye.
Hope you enjoyed that episode with Laura of Down the Lees. Like we mentioned, the new album, Dirt, came out last month. You can check it out on all streaming platforms. And if you want to support, hit up their Bandcamp, their website, check out where you can purchase this album, and see Down the Lees on tour. This was such a pleasant talk. And what's interesting when we were talking about pressures and kind of the whole mental health thing, that strangely became a reality to me. I don't know if this talk foreshadowed something in my life, but that's the reason why you haven't had an episode in a couple weeks. Your boy Sean was burnt out, but I appreciate you guys hanging in there, always supporting me. You're all beautiful. And speaking of beautiful supporters, we can't leave without thanking all you legends on the Patreon page. First up, the biggest thanks to Mike Carniello of the Testing with Mike YouTube channel. If you're into electronics, technology, how they work, and most importantly, how to fix them, check out Testing with Mike on YouTube. Another huge thanks to Amanda McKnight of Top 10 Nerd. Not only is she the host of Top 10 Nerd, talking to 1 million plus subscribers, Amanda has her very own channel that you should definitely check out. Soak in some good vibes and celebrate comic books, video games, movies, and all things nerdy. Just search Amanda McKnight on YouTube. Another huge thanks to the wonderful Jenny Potter, the legend Devin McBride, back-to-back double impact Allens, the number one gent Alan Kent, and bigwig Alan Briggs, supporting us with one of our upper tiers on the Patreon. We really appreciate you, man. And last but not least, Francis Coffer, aka my mom. If you want to support the show and get these episodes early, raw, uncut, right when I'm done the Zoom call, I just post them. You can go to patreon.com/thecreative imbalance, and beyond having my thanks, you can just go to bed at night and sleep soundly, knowing you're a badass motherfucker who supports raw, uncut, independent media. And nobody can take that away from you. You hear me? With that being said, we got some awesome episodes around the corner. More music, more movies, all that shit. I appreciate you, and we'll catch you next time. Ciao!